the top 5 things Jake Paul can work on to become a better boxer. Now, these are very, very simple things and easy things, and we're going to talk about them, go through some clips. So I'm not going to hold you up too much. We're going to start here. And the first thing I want you to pay attention to is, as this clip plays, Jake Paul kind of stays on the right side of the line, okay? He doesn't have what I like to call an active guard, okay? As he approaches the line, a little bit of probing here with the lead hand, but he almost always comes forward with a hard punch without very many actual feints, without actually having very many ways to get his opponent to react to him. And so as he approaches the line here against Tommy Fury is not stressed at all. He hasn't had to make any moves. He's been able to just sit in one position and wait for Jake Paul to get into range, and then just explodes into his guard, okay? Now, this works, this is a problem for a few reasons, okay? Not only does it make it harder for him to set his punches up because it makes him predictable, but that predictability causes him to eat more punches, okay? Now, and that's on offense, right? It's easy to disrupt him, just like here, Tommy Fury is able to disrupt him. But if we take a look at this next sequence, as he gets pushed off of his line, Tommy Fury is easily able to continue following up punches because without an active guard, without an ability to cross the line, transition your weight, and defend your position, or change positions, he's just sitting on the line eating punches, hoping that Tommy Fury wears himself out while throwing these punches before he knocks him out. Okay, so we're going to take a look at a couple of clips that kind of talk about that idea here. Now, as Tommy Fury attacks him here, jab, jab, right hand, very, very common sequence. He throws that shot, and Jake Paul eats the body shot, peels away from the line, and not only is he not following up, right, because Tommy Fury just put himself out of position. Look at the position that he's in. This is one of the best positions that Jake Paul could hope to see Tommy Fury in when he's on the line with him so that he can punch him in the face. But because of the fact that, well, we're going to talk about a few things that Jake Paul does wrong, but because he doesn't have an active guard, he's not actively feinting and probing and crossing the line, he doesn't know how to get his weight from the right side of the line, once he gets pushed back to the left side of the line safely, okay? And it causes him to wind up getting stuck on the back foot, in position 2, in the least dominant position, all the way on the back foot, left hand down like he's trying to do some Philly shoulder roll stuff, and it causes him to just wind up eating punches, okay? And now, as we see here, here's that same right hand to the body as Jake Paul was running off the line, hands down. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Tommy Fury is now able to follow up that right hand to the body with a left hook, okay? And Jake Paul has still not countered. He's still not found a way to interact with Tommy Fury. Again, just allowing Tommy Fury to just kind of explode on him and throw whatever punches he wants, okay? And again, Jake Paul back on the back foot there all by himself, finally throws a punch and still wind up stuck on the back foot. Now again, no real defense here, right? He can't, when he's on the back foot, he's not blocking punches, he's not catching punches, he's not slipping punches, and as soon as you get him on the back foot, he's stuck in this position, cheating, ducking below the waist, his head looking down at the ground. He has no idea what Tommy Fury's doing right now. Again, we're going to talk about that in extensive detail a little bit later. But even when he manages to get back to the line here, he's still eating punches. He's still not interacting. He's still not getting his head on one side of the line to slip a punch or the other, okay? And again, this is just a very, very, very basic, how do you say, an amateur level thing, right? Something that usually goes away in the amateurs when somebody figures out, oh, I can block this punch, I can interact here, I can roll, or I can just pendulum step off the line. But Jake Paul doesn't really have any of those strategies or skills. Now, the next thing that Jake Paul, the big problem that Jake Paul has, number one, he throws everything with maximum power. He's always trying to exert and throw, and that's something that you can do in training. But you also have to practice your boxing punches. You have to practice them without full power, just enough for speed, because you have to find a place for that punch to go. And then once you find a place for that punch to go, you can try to add a little bit of power. But Jake Paul, when he throws his right hand, and he landed this punch. He landed this punch clean on Tommy Fury as Tommy Fury was coming in. Landed it clean. He doesn't have any strategies after he punches, okay? Boxing takes place in 3 stages, all right? First, you have to get on the line with your opponent, right? Get in range of punching. Then you have to punch them. And then you have to get off the line safely. And real quick, if you guys want to learn the absolute best ways to do that, check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System. Learn what I like to teach is the track, which will teach you how to enter the line from either side, defend the line from either side, set up pull counters, set up all kinds of defensive things. And this is one of those positions here that Jake Paul should be able to throw a right hand and then make a pull counter, defend this position, block, and then come back with a punch. But because of the fact that he doesn't actually practice doing anything after he throws his best punch, he only practices standing there and resetting, he winds up giving away, again, a lot of opportunities to someone like Tommy Fury, who is an amateur, right? Tommy Fury is not a great boxer. He's an average boxer. He's got above average hand speed, but he's got a lot of technical problems, just like Jake Paul. But because Jake Paul can't really follow up any of his punches because he practices everything with maximum power and then does not practice defending his position, pull counters, he doesn't practice anticipating that if you just punched your opponent in the face, he's going to try to punch you in the face too, something that's very, very, very common sense, okay? And again, if you guys want to learn not only the best ways to get on and off the line, the best theories to understand the concepts, if you want to also learn how to throw your absolute best punch, if you want to learn how real punching power works, something that Tommy Fury could definitely take advantage of, as his power is very lackluster, as we saw in this fight. He could land almost any punch he wanted and couldn't hurt this guy. But if you want to know how power punching really works, you want to learn how to improve it, check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System in the description below. It's amazing. It's, game-changing for boxing, all right? Now, anyway, again, Tommy Fury, or Jake Paul, throwing this punch, almost landing it, and then again, he doesn't have any strategies for what to do after this. He doesn't know how to safely get back to a position on the line so that he can either offend you or defend himself. So again, putting himself way out of position, trying to throw his biggest punch, and then getting caught immediately after getting back on the line. Okay, a very, very common pattern in this fight. And real quick, we don't want to move on yet. Another thing we want to talk about in that is another problem that Jake Paul has is that he uses his head for so much momentum when he throws it that he also looks away from his opponent. Okay, he turns his head away, and we can see that he has no idea, again, what's going on, and winds up walking into this shot. Maybe it's blocked, maybe it's not. I can't super tell. It looks like it probably catches him somewhere. But he always is turning his head away from his opponent. He's not actually looking at what's going on, and he can't see, and that means that he's not going to be able to interact with what his opponent is doing in time to be able to interact with it safely. Okay, and again, his head way out there. That one's not so bad. But here, when he gets hit here, pulling away very, very far away, and we're going to take some more looks at those kind of clips as well, as we see here. Now, this is a really interesting one, okay, because this is the sequence and the punch that he wound up actually hurting Tommy Fury. I think he hurt him twice with this punch, and only got one knockdown, but I definitely think he hurt him twice. But as he gets down here and he hits this punch, we can see that that's a decent move, right? Decent move. He's able to time Tommy Fury pretty well. As Tommy Fury takes that step, he slips his head off the line, catches him on the chin. Beautiful. Best move of the fight. And he was able to accomplish this sequence many, many, many times in the fight. Again, because Tommy Fury is an average fighter, right? Tommy Fury is not that high level. He's not that technical. He's always stepping with his punches, almost getting caught here. But what we want to look at here, the reason why I have this clip here, again, when he throws this punch, look at how far away he looks and moves his head away from the line. Can he actually see what's going on here when he throws this punch? And again, he's exerting himself. He's trying to throw this punch as hard as he can. And there's not always a reason for that, okay? And I want to say one of the biggest reasons why he does that is because he doesn't train power correctly, okay? Now again, check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System. I will teach you everything you need to do so that you don't throw this punch like Jake Paul, okay? You don't throw this punch like Jake Paul, not that one. You throw this punch like Ryan Garcia, okay? And in the Fouts Boxing Combat System, again, I will teach you exactly what it is that Ryan Garcia does to create so much snap, so much power, so much speed. It's a trick that I taught myself when I was 19, when I was very young, and it's very, very, very successful at teaching people the correct way to develop snap and power. And you can do it with my technique. You can do it not just on the Cobra bag, which is where Ryan Garcia learned it, but I will teach you how to do it on the heavy bag to generate real devastating power, devastating speed, okay? Again, one of the reasons why Jake Paul has to exert himself so much is because he doesn't understand all of the techniques. He doesn't know what to do with every single piece of your body. And when you punch somebody, you have to be able to get your entire body into the punch, okay? Now, beautiful here, right? Beautiful punch here. A few things that Jake Paul doesn't do. He doesn't follow this punch up when he lands it, right? Granted, he knocks him down here. That's not a big deal. But again, it's very important, just like the right hand, that when we throw our left hand, we can fight off of our own punches. We can set up pull counters. We can set up defensive moves where we can defend the line. And we can see, again, that Jake Paul doesn't really do that. Now, why am I talking about that? Well, one of the most common defensive moves, right, if your opponent throws a punch and you duck here, let's just imagine, okay, that instead of throwing the jab here, he just ducked here and then came back over the top with the right hand. And that's what you would call a pull counter. He's going to duck underneath the jab, and then he's going to go over the top of it with the right hand. And in spite of the fact that we can see that he can do the actual physical motion with his body, get under the jab, time it perfectly, almost 0 times in this fight, I believe it actually was 0 times, did Jake Paul actually try to initiate a pull counter against Tommy Fury. Again, a very, very, very common and basic pattern of fighting. One that happens in every single high-level boxing match. Someone attempts pull counters. Not someone. Both fighters attempt pull counters. Okay? And this is, again, one of those strategies that's just completely missing from all of Jake Paul's fighting, all of his theory, because, again, he exerts himself with his own punches so much, he has a very difficult time chaining his sequences together. Okay? And again, as we continue going forward, here we see another problem that Jake Paul has, okay? Easily avoiding that punch, no big deal, right? But this route here, we can see that he's trying to parry the shot. He's still getting tagged, and he missed this counter, all right? Now, this is important because another one of the problems that Jake Paul has is that I don't want to say it's as simple as he doesn't keep his hands up, because it's not about keeping your hands up. It's about keeping your hands in relation to the target, in relation to the line. And here, Jake Paul should be controlling his opponent's jab with his rear hand. He should be trying to eliminate the free angles that go from here to here, right? Simply by having his hand, if we take a look at that line here, boop, here it is, simply by having his hand somewhere along this path, right? He can have it all the way down here if he wants. He just cannot allow Fury to connect this line for free, right? The most common place is going to be somewhere around here, right in front of his face, or rather like somewhere like right here, right? And that just allows him to catch the jab much more easily, much more consistently, okay? And that's also the same problem that he has, right? Again, it's not about keeping your hands up or down. It's about keeping them in position to interact with your opponent. And he does not keep his left hand up either, which is why so many of the sequences wind up him going here and having to run away like this. And then again, that allows Tommy Fury to follow him up, as we saw, follow those punches up and land free punches, right? A free jab here, right? A free jab here. Again, so many of those punches in the fight were free, right? Free jab, all because Jake Paul is trying to save all of his athleticism to punch rather than finding a way to move around, successfully control the punches that his opponent is going to come, and then counter them. Again, because so much of what he does is an explosion, and he usually winds up missing. But again, without keeping his hands up, he eats that free punch. And then again, without keeping his hands up or in position to interact with the line, as we can see, his right hand is all the way over here in fucking Narnia. He eats this punch, and it just allows Tommy Fury to have a lot of free sources of offense and free sources of controlling the space, right? It makes it so that Tommy Fury doesn't have to work that hard, and he can use very basic sequences to interact with Jake Paul to win the fight. It makes it not have to work that hard. Okay, now again, it's not about keeping your hands up, it's about keeping them in relation to your opponent's hands, right? We cannot let them just have free punches, because then they don't have to work very hard, okay? And yeah, so those are the biggest problems that I see with Jake Paul. Number one, lack of an active guard, right? When he's moving around, he's usually moving around in this position that's on the screen. His hands are kind of down. He's trying to be fast and sneaky so he can try to time his opponent, but he's not trying to interact with all the times that his opponent is going to try to time him. So without an active guard, it allows Tommy Fury to enter his line whenever he wants. Without keeping his hands up, at least in position to interact with the line, it allows Tommy Fury to hit him almost whenever he wants. And then, without having any pull counters, again, he doesn't, after he threw the left hand, he doesn't have an opportunity to pull counter and counter Tommy Fury by coming over the top of the jab, right? Pulling against the jab and throwing the right hand, even though he was able to time that with the jab and counter it many, many, many times. Also, after he throws his rear hand, he doesn't have any follow-ups. He just sits on the line. He doesn't defend his position. He doesn't find a way to make it back onto the line after he knows Tommy Fury is going to follow him back. Okay? Again, all very, very common patterns, not just in fight with Tommy Fury, but very common patterns in every fight. Okay? These are very, very basic skills. These are all things that, if I'm being honest, his coaches should be embarrassed. They've had all this time to work with him, like 2 years, right? He's been boxing for 3 years now. I don't know how long he's been with his current coaching team, but they haven't been able to figure out how to teach him how to do any of this stuff. And they've had him in camp for over 2 years. It shouldn't take more than a month to be able to teach somebody these kinds of skills, okay? And if Jake Paul is going to have any chance whatsoever at beating Tommy Fury in the rematch, he's going to have to be able to shore these holes up, okay? Because Tommy Fury's best attributes, that he's fast. And if you can't move and cross the line, and you can't defend your position, and you can't use your hands to block punches, he can't catch the jab very well. Like sometimes he does, right? When he's being very mindful of it, and he's like, okay, I'm going to hit him with a trap. All right, I'm going to hit him with the trap. But we saw the clip where he knows he was going to go for the trap. He tries to parry the jab. He still gets hit by Tommy Fury's jab, and then he misses his counter. So without keeping his hands tighter and closer to the target, he's not going to be able to find a way to bridge the gap between his speed and Tommy Fury's speed. But Jake Paul is enough good of an athlete. We saw him connect enough punches in this fight to understand that he does have a possibility of winning this fight. Okay? But he's not going to be able to do that, number one, again, if he doesn't start keeping his hands in relation to his opponent and not just in this random place by his body that allows him to generate momentum and swing and throw punches. But he has to be able to interact with his opponent, not just whenever he wants to, right? Whenever he wants to just jump on the line and throw a donkey punch, but he has to be able to interact with his opponent when his opponent wants to interact with him, right? Like a scene like this, right? Is Jake Paul actually in position to interact with Tommy Fury, right? But we know Tommy Fury is the faster fighter, right? A scene like this, is he in position? Even though he's pulling away, he's still getting hit here. This is still a landed punch because Tommy Fury is in position to jump and throw one punch, right? One snap, and he can hit him. And Jake Paul's snap was not fast enough to catch that punch or pull away. So he has to keep his hands up in position in relation to his opponent and be able to interact with him. The next thing, he has to learn how to get off the line when he throws his best punches. He has to learn how to defend his position. He has to learn how to create a pull counter and get his weight from all the way wherever it is he throws it back into his boxing position, one of the positions in which he can attack his opponent, and not use so much energy flying around, okay? Because if we take a look at this scene here, where he throws the right hand, boom. Why does he fly all the way back here and then not be able to interact with this punch? There's absolutely no reason for him to have crossed his head from here back to here. He's safe over here, but he doesn't understand what he's doing. And in this beat, he's going to go beat. And as he takes that step to the back foot and brings his weight back across the line, Tommy Fury took this step here and got himself into position to throw this punch. And that's all because of the fact that it takes Jake Paul so long to try to get back to a position to box, okay? Because he doesn't practice fighting out of this position after throwing his right hand. He doesn't practice pull counters. He doesn't practice blocking. He doesn't practice pulling. He doesn't practice taking a step off the line. Again, all things that I'll teach you in the Fouts Boxing Combat System, that I have specific drills to teach, so that you can learn to understand how you fight out of your positions. Not just fighting your opponent, but that you fight and you understand what you're supposed to be doing in each position. Okay? And if Jake Paul trains his ass off, he works really hard, he gets really in good shape, he gets really strong, maybe he even gets a little bit faster, but he doesn't work on these 5 things, he's going to have zero chance at bridging the gap between him and Tommy Fury. Zero shot, okay? But if he does, and he can learn how to do some of these things just some of the time, you don't have to have them be perfect. They don't have to be perfect. You just have to be able to do them so you can mitigate the amount of times that your opponent can hit you. So you can mitigate the amount of times that when you get on the line with your opponent, that they're just able to go, pop, and catch you with a free punch. Because if Tommy Fury always has to fight off of his jab and he can't score punches for free with it, it means he's going to have to be more vulnerable. And that's going to create more opportunities for Jake Paul. But Jake Paul, again, if we think about a little bit of the theory, how often did Tommy Fury throw a punch that Jake Paul didn't immediately counter with his jab or his hook? Right? That was his best sequence by far in the fight. He dropped him with it. Beautiful, beautiful work. But how many times when that sequence didn't happen exactly like that was Jake Paul able to follow Tommy Fury up with a punch? How many times was he able to follow Tommy Fury while he was out of position? How many times did Tommy Fury wind up in a position here and Jake Paul made him pay for it? 0. 0 times. However, almost every single time Jake Paul would throw a punch, Tommy Fury would follow up and make him pay for it. He would get back to the line and get free points. Free. And Tommy Fury didn't have to work that hard. Jake Paul did almost all the work in this fight. Okay, now, that's not exactly true, right? We saw him jumping in with the 1-1s. Very easy to get Jake Paul out of position. Here he is, ducking. His head is looking at the ground. He's not even looking at his opponent. Free punch. Oh, he's just going to keep doing that? Okay, so I'm going to take that jab here, control him, push him off the line, follow him up with the hook here. Notice his right hand is not blocking that hook like it should be. He's not actually getting his weight to the front foot or crossing the line or getting his head off the line of the right hand, which comes, he doesn't miss it or he doesn't land it, but it doesn't matter. But we can see that it's very easy to get Jake Paul into a position as if he just threw a punch, and now he can no longer defend these positions, okay? And again, all of those things can be mitigated by teaching him simply how to keep his hands up in a position to interact with the line so that he can always find counters off of them, and by teaching him how to pull counter, teaching him how to do, A, B, C, and D, just these few small things. But if he doesn't, he's going to lose the rematch. He's going to lose it bad. Because Tommy Fury is going to remember. He has so much experience. He's going to remember what Jake Paul looked like when he was in there. He's going to remember where the holes were. And it's not going to be round 1 of the next fight. It's going to be round 9. Okay? So anyway, if you guys got any questions, keep them to yourself. Because to be honest, most of the time people on YouTube suck. No, I'm just kidding. But if you guys are interested, check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System. It will teach you everything you need to know about boxing, about how power works, about how your body mechanics work, so that you can do all the moves in the ring, anything that you want to learn. Okay? Also included in the Fouts Boxing Combat System are my private pendulum boxing drills, which are amazing. They all they all work off of the 2-foot punching theory, excuse me, and will help you learn how to get into position to use your 2-foot punching as you take a step on the line or you take a step off the line, but to also be able to always be in position to generate maximum power so that you don't ever wind up in a position like Jake Paul where he moves off the line, he has no structure, and he can't actually throw a punch. So check it out. It's a revolutionary series. Yeah, thanks, guys.